What's up, everyone, and welcome to That Game Rules, my subpar retro podcast, where every week we gather around the playground, just nerd out about the games we rented over the weekend. Hopefully you're not racking up them late fees, but nothing says that was a good game like a bunch of late fees on it. I'm your host, Scuba Steve. Thank you for listening. Today we're talking about Sonic 2 for the Game Gear, that beautiful battery-sucking beast. I've got some interesting things to say about this game. Do you have games you played when you were a kid that you liked or thought you liked and then play them again when you're an adult and have some different opinions? Because today maybe we'll get our first That Game Sucks ranking today. You're gonna have to wait for the end, but I've definitely got some opinions about this game. Thanks again for joining the show. Every week here we pick an old game and we go back in time talking movies, shows, toys, a bunch of other stuff around that time period. Then we rip the box open, unfortunately, and get to the gooey center of the box there, and we'll dissect that game. We'll go over vitals, and we'll take a look at the instruction manual, characters, levels. I love talking about music, sound effects. We'll check out some of your comments and reviews. And finally, we'll give this game some awards, slap a ranking on it, and call it another day here at That Game Rules. Let's waste some time together. If you're at work, just go ahead and turn your work brain off for a minute. Turn your gaming brain on for an hour or so. Let's talk about Sonic. I love that guy. If you want to get a hold of me, send me messages, thatgamerules@gmail.com. Sign up for the newsletter, thatgamerules.com. And other than that, if you like the show, go ahead and tell people about it. Go ahead and rate it a good rating if you could, or a follow, or a like, or all those other things that all those other podcasters are asking for. Those are the cool kids in the lunchroom over there, the other podcasters, and they always ask for people to rate stuff. So I'll ask too, and then maybe I'll get invited to their lunch table someday. If you got anything bad to say about the show, go ahead and email me that at thatgamerules@gmail.com, and I'll just read those right on the show. It'll be a good time. Before we get into it, what have I been up to, playing, watching, doing? It's been a busy week. I always thought summer would be like a slowdown time with the kids out of school, but they're keeping me just as busy. My oldest son, Connor, he's 22, and he does derby car racing, like demolition derbies at the county fair and stuff. So we've been doing that, and that's fun and gives me a lot of anxiety to watch, but that's my little boy. He used to smash Hot Wheel cars together, and now he's smashing real cars together, so good for him. Shout outs this week to my boy AJ. He's my bestie. I think he's listening to the show now. I'm not promoting the show. This stuff can be hard to put yourself out there sometimes, but if people I know want to listen to it, then I appreciate it, and also I'm sorry. You got to put up with my nonsense in your ears. Let's talk gaming memories of this particular game I owned. I had a Game Gear. It seemed there were definitely a lot more Game Boys out there than Game Gears, but I had the whole shebang. I had the big suitcase thing you'd carry it around in. I had the TV tuner, if you know what that is. Maybe I'll talk later. You could literally stick this antenna wielding box into your Game Gear and try to scan around for a channel that would come through and messing with your little bunny ear antenna there. I know that Game Gear, it took more batteries, but man, that bright screen and those colors is compared to what we had, as far as the Game Boy, and even the Game Boy Color, and I don't think had a backlit screen yet. And that's what really made this system for me. It released, I think, with, besides, your Sonics, Game Boy had its Tetris that really broke through the mainstream. I don't think Game Gear was going to get there with their puzzle game, Columns. I don't know if anybody's played that, but it's definitely no Tetris. And a shout out to the Sega Nomad. I never had one of those. It wasn't the same time as the Game Gear here. A few years later, I'm sure, but pretty much a Game Gear that you could play Sega Genesis, like the full cartridges in. And it had 6 buttons and everything for all you Street Fighter fans out there. So I never had a Nomad. Not even sure I've seen one in real life. But, man, that was just a sweet concept. I know they've got some, like, Super Nintendo ones, too. Nothing official from Nintendo. But I know there's handhelds. You can stick a cart right in and just go nuts on those. So I wish I had a Nomad, but I didn't. I had all the games, all the popular games, including this one, which I loved when I was a kid. A lot of those games you loved just playing. In this case, I just had Sonic on the go, so I was happy. I was a happy kid. And we'll see how adult me feels about this game when there's so many other great Sonics out there now. But we're going to go ahead, get right into this time warp. Let's start talking 1992. Get at it.
Have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And welcome back to 1992. This week's Time Warp is brought to you by... Oh, hold on a second. My mom had to use the phone earlier. I'm going to have to reconnect here. Oh, this takes forever. Come on, internet. Anytime now, internet. Let's go. Oh, almost there.
You've got mail.
Aha, we made it. Thanks, guys. Welcome back to 1992. We are brought to you today by AOL, America Online. And if you had the internet, the first internet back then like I did, what a great time to be alive in all them old AOL chat rooms. I probably could have built a fort out of all the discs they would send you, their little 3-hour demo discs in the mail. Eventually your demo CDs would come in the mail. I think you were paying hourly for AOL, or at least they'd give you those little like 10-hour demos. And AOL, again, with your old modems back there, someone needed to use the phone, you're getting booted off if they pick it up, or someone's yelling at you they need to make a call, or they're waiting on a call. I didn't even have the internet in my house back with AOL, but my mom's boyfriend down the road had it, and I could go walk down there in his computer room and enter some. Back then I was doing like Star Wars chat rooms and probably other chat rooms while waiting for that Spice Girls picture to load for 3 hours or whatever else you were up to on the internet at a young age. So shout out to AOL, and whatever my old AOL email used to be, who knows, but those were fun times. You hear that little "you've got mail" message. But anyway, thank you, fake sponsor. We're going to move on, talking 1992, and this show in general is going to be 1,000% non-political. This is my escape from all that political crap. But in 1992, I got to give a shout out to Bill Clinton getting elected president. I have no idea what his presidency was like or what kind of president he was, but if you were a kid at the same time I was at that age, for some reason, Bill Clinton was like cool. He was like the cool president, and he had episodes in The Simpsons. I know it wasn't him voicing him, but just think of the Treehouse of Terror episode, or the Treehouse of Horror, with him and Krang and Kodos and was it Bob Dole or something? And anyway, don't blame me. I didn't vote for Kang. And other than that, he was in the intro of Animaniacs, so I think that sealed the deal for me. Just a cartoon Bill Clinton playing the saxophone. So anyone who remembers that. We'll talk in movies here. We've got Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. I loved Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And even now, it's because I love movie magic, so I love all the big, real models and real sets they made for that movie. I watched that a lot more than Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, but same kind of concept there. And I also just love Rick Moranis, and I'm so happy he's going to come back for Spaceballs too. So I hope that goes well. And I hope Mel Brooks is filming his scenes like ASAP, because he is definitely getting up there in age. Also that year, we've got The Mighty Ducks. Oh man, that made it. That was such a big Disney movie back then. Also, I got a shout out to this movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula. That one I did see when I was a kid, because if only when I lived with my stepdad, who had money. But if your parents had money and they happen to have, a HBO subscription or a Cinemax subscription, and they fall asleep at night, you might find yourself watching some interesting things that you may not have seen during the daytime. So I know I caught that on some random memory on some random late night on HBO watching movies that were definitely inappropriate for me. But let's move on to some TV shows, because I got good kid TV shows here. If anybody remembers Nickelodeon Guts, and to that extent, American Gladiators, which I watched both of those, but Guts was kind of like the kid version of American Gladiators, because that show was so popular. American Gladiators with what people's names like Blaze and Blazer and Taser and all sorts of Azers. So there were a lot of, as far as that show, and just like guts and fire and what essentially like Nerf gun type stuff at you. But I remember the end, they used to have to climb, what was it called? Like the Crag or something, or the Ag Mountain. Remember, I don't do research. We're just pulling strings out of my brain here. But I do remember that like trophy, that like green neon kind of weird shape, like a chunk of the mountain essentially was your trophy. So much love to Nickelodeon Guts. I'm also going to send some love to Sailor Moon. Didn't watch it when I was a kid, but if I do have any female listeners, and you did, I know my wife was a fan of the old show, and because of that, but my daughter watched the old stuff too, my youngest, and she's kind of into Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars and Sailor Venus and all this stuff that I have no idea about, but she made me 3D printer some Sailor Moon, like moon wand or something, so she's a nerd just like me, and I love it. Also that year, another Nickelodeon show, and I've mentioned it before, was Nick Arcade, and that's the kind of thing you'd have to like YouTube to maybe see what I'm talking about, but if you were a young gamer, that was like the show. These kids competed, you would compete kind of side by side on arcades, for various, I'm sure, like time or points, or like finally a game where the points matter. But then at the end, it looked a lot cooler, I'm sure, on TV when you're watching it. They'd go into the video game, but it was essentially just them standing in front of a green screen. And then they would, I assume, have the TV screen in front of them, so the contestants could kind of see what they were trying to whack or what they were trying to duck under and stuff. But I'd have loved to have been on that show when I was a kid. Toys that year, we're looking at Polly Pocket. Again, just shouting out some love to any female listeners out there, or if you had a sister like me and you just played with her crap too. So I played with Polly Pocket, and if it wasn't for Polly Pocket, we wouldn't have Mighty Max. So also Tickle Me Elmo, not anything I had, but just I remember the hype around that thing. Moms beating each other up in stores, or people trying to scalp them for, I assume, just hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And it's kind of gone on to other things. The weird thing nowadays, if you're listening to this episode currently, are these, what are they, Labubu's? And the fake version, the Lafufus. It's weird how toys just go viral. Before that, with my kids, we had fidget spinners a few years ago. And I think fingerlings, those little monkey things at one point, just the weird things that, because they go viral and sell out in places, and then all these kids are just begging their parents for them, and then it just kind of takes off from there. Also that year, toys I did play with for sure were Trolls, and like your first kind of collectible. Like, forget about your Funko Pops and all that stuff. We had just tons and tons of trolls lining the shelves. It had little troll pencil toppers. I had a troll sticker book, and I liked those little guys. Also, that year, another big one, Stretch Armstrong. Who else wanted to cut that guy open and see what his insides were made out of? He's your old traditional Stretch Armstrong. You probably got a TV show out of it too, maybe a video game. I'm not sure, because again, we were just cycling through all that stuff. But Stretch Armstrong, and then they had kind of various other stretchy type people come after that. But Stretch Armstrong's the OG, and I don't know what is in there. Is it like sand or something? I've still never figured out what's inside old Stretch Armstrong. A couple of video games before we get into the Sonic 2 itself. That year we had Sonic 2 for the Genesis, the better game out of all these Sonic 2s. We'll get in a bit more in the vitals as far as what Sega was doing between their Master System and their Genesis / Mega Drive coming out. As far as the 8-bit to 16-bit situation going on there. But we had Sonic 2 for the Genesis. That is a definite favorite of mine. Also, Wolfenstein 3D. Another computer game right up there with, Doom and Duke Nukem and just the evolution of those first-person shooters and kind of where they started to develop into might be the highest-selling genre now. I'm not sure with all the Call of Duties, but first-person shooters are, obviously popular. Another game I'm shouting out is the Addams Family on the NES. This is not the terribly hard Fester's Quest game. This is the Addams Family, and it was a pretty neat game for towards the end of life on the Nintendo. It was almost it was a platformer, but it was like you would play as you have to kind of go, if I remember right, you're either finding, I know you played as Gomez, so you were either finding the other members of your family or they were helping you in some way, but it wasn't just like a back and forth. You had to go, up to the attic to get an item or find an item that then would open up like the basement or the graveyard and all these kind of things. I'd like to do an episode on that so I can replay through it, all I remember. And again, we'll see how well my played when I was a kid and haven't played since type of memories go, because Sonic 2 for the Game Gear was one of those that we'll get into in a little bit. So go play Addams Family, and then let's do a show about it. So also that year, I want to show some love to Mega Man 5. We are in the thick of it on the Mega Mans in the Nintendo. Still got one more coming, but Mega Man 5 was great. And I wanted to just mention it so that I could play some Mega Man 5 music and maybe get that AOL modem tone out of your head. So let's hear some Mega Man 5 music and just enjoy it. Not a big music guy at all as far as normal music, bands, and all those kind of things, but some of this video game music invoke emotions in me that probably normal music does to normal people, but I am a weirdo. So we're going to get into the vitals of this game, and unfortunately we're going to rip that box open. We're going to throw it in the trash because I was a dumb kid.
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants.
You got me! Oh, yeah!
Oh, you got me a Game Gear. Sweet. We got Sonic 2. This is going to be a great night, I said to myself. So the Game Gear was 8-bit, just like the NES and just like the Master System, which I never played a Master System. I think my wife owned one. So they were 8-bit. This game, the box art, it looks really good. It's you got Sonic, you got him in a hang glider, which you've never seen before, and it's the same. It's got your bright Sonic 2 logo that you're gonna recognize. Sonic front and center, Tails running underneath. This is the introduction of Tails, obviously, in Sonic 2 here. As far as this box art being early for the Game Gear, eventually Game Gear went to having like a consistent purple kind of pink banner along the left side of it with the Game Gear. They don't have it in this case. They have it in the box itself was kind of like a teal box, so it's kind of unique in that aspect, and the art's bigger without having that Game Gear border on the side, but it does look kind of weird if you have it in your collection or kind of on your shelf. It's not going to have that same color and look quite the same as all your other games, but it's there. It's looking good. I mean, actually on the cheap, I think I had one of these, sealed still in the wrapper and everything, and I think it was like $20 or something. So they're not worth a lot or anything, but the box art looks good. Let's talk a little bit about some history or facts that if you want to, believe that I did research enough on these or not, we'll see. But again, it is the debut of Miles Tails Prower. I love Tails. He has his own game on the Game Gear as well, Tails Adventure, I think, where it's just Tails, and he can do his little spinny copter move. And I'm going to have to give that one another try. That one is not a cheap game to find. But it's also, as far as Sonic 2, it's entirely different from the Sonic 2 on the Genesis. So this game is essentially kind of like a port of the Sonic 2 for the Master System. So they're both 8-bit games. And both of those came out about a month before Sonic 2 for the Genesis. So Sonic 2 for the Genesis is just a completely different game. Story, features, zones, music, everything's different on the Genesis versus Sonic 2 on the Master System, which again, I never played, but based on playing this one, I'd like to try the Master System and a bunch of those games, a bunch of Sega's original kind of 8-bit games. So the Game Gear, smaller screen resolution, obviously, but in this case, for their game and kind of taking it from the Master System, they didn't change like sprite size or level size essentially on anything, so you're playing pretty much just like a 30% of the screen as far as versus the Master System. And so they just take out space on the left up top and on the right, and it doesn't translate well for a game of a blue hedgehog and you're trying to go fast. When I swear 80% of this game you're taking a leap of faith. You can't see anything in front of you. So this game could be aptly titled Sonic 2 Trial and Error, because it is, and I like those kind of games to an extent, but it's tough with the small screen. It looks beautiful and sounds beautiful and plays rough 50% of the time. We'll get into that on the levels where it's like some levels, I swear, 10 seconds, you're done and all you did was spin. And other ones will game over you 30 times, I felt like the other night I was playing. So different games, smaller screen, different music, but all the music's really good. So looking at the manual, unfortunately with this one, and it's fine, but we're getting into manuals that they went black and white on everything. So appreciate any of those big full color manuals you got versus some of these black and white ones. But the manual itself, it's a good one. It's got all your buttons, all your moves. It shows you little pictures of every little item you can get, and we'll go over those because they're all a bit different from the Sonic you might be used to as far as what they condensed down here. Also from this game, we get our first mechanical type Sonic, although it is not Metal Sonic in this game. His name is Silver Sonic. So we're going to kind of see the evolution of a lot of Sonic's legacy as we go through this game. And just to give us a little, it's a short one, so let me read you the story real quick and set the scene straight out of the manual. It says, Robotnik returns. All was peaceful and quiet on South Island after Sonic the Hedgehog crushed the plans of the diabolical Dr. Ivo Robotnik for the first time. Far too quiet, in fact, for a hyper young hedgehog who craves action, so Sonic left South Island in search of other adventures. When he returned, Sonic found no sign of his friends anywhere. Confused, he went back to his digs to think and found a note waiting for him. It was from Miles, or Tails as he is called, a two-tailed fox who is one of Sonic's closest friends. Dear Sonic, Robotnik is back and he's captured all the animals on the island. He is holding me in a place called the Crystal Egg. In order to free me, you have to find and bring the 6 Chaos Emeralds. Robotnik made me write this. He says he's waiting for you and he's created 6 really nasty robots in order to get rid of you once and for all. I don't know what he has planned, but Sonic, please be careful. Sincerely, Tails. There was no time to waste. The letter fluttered to the floor as Sonic dashed off to find the Chaos Emeralds and save his friends. So easy peasy. At least it tells you there you got 6 Chaos Emeralds to get. And you're gonna other than that, we're gonna follow the Sonic formula. We're gonna go rescue some furry little friends and find some Chaos Emeralds, and in the meantime, kind of beat up some robotic bad guys. The sad thing about my little manual here is there's no notes page at the back, but it does have a sweet colored Streets of Rage ad for the Game Gear, available Christmas '92 if you want to save up for that, or maybe ask your mom for it. Controls and buttons for this. If you don't know the Game Gear itself, you've got a D-pad, no shoulder buttons, and then you've got 2 buttons. Are they A and B? Are they X and Y? No, they're not. They are button 1 and button 2. And we can start here with the let's see, anxiety and emotional stress I have over my button placements and all these various controllers that have X in a different place, and et cetera, et cetera. It all starts here. So we got button 1 and button 2 there. Your controls are pretty basic. You've got your left, right, up and down. As far as your down's going to crouch, your up's going to just make Sonic tilt his head up and look. And then you got button 1 and button 2. They do the same thing. You're just going to jump or, crap, that may be it. They call it a super spin attack in the game, but if you jump, that is the super spin attack. It's where you go into a circle. If you want to attack people laterally on the ground, you would just hit down as you're running, and that would make you, if you have enough speed, assuming otherwise you just duck. But you would have to have a little movement, push down, and that's where you do your kind of spin move, and that will take out some enemies. It'll also let you go through certain walls. Pretty noticeable walls that you can spin through. But what is missing from this game, and it's got to be on Sonic 2 for the Genesis, is just your charge up dash. You're kind of push down and tap your button to do your spin up, and then shoot forward. And from there, that makes Sonic games like so much better. It's almost like last week when Kirby got his like copy abilities in his second game, as far as the charge up spin being kind of a staple of Sonic after that. And this is something I really enjoy. I really like the charge up spin. I have mixed emotions about like Mega Man and his charge up gun and how that became kind of an official thing. In this case, keep Sonic in his charge spin. Also in this game, we have our classic idle animations. So you've got Sonic, tapping his foot. He's throwing his hands up, breaking the fourth wall. If you stand there and don't push anything, he'll, stare at the screen. And if you get too close to an edge, he'll do his little kind of wobble off the edge, kind of balancing on there. So I like those. Those are classic, and those stay with Sonic all the way even through like little Easter eggs in the movies when he's doing some of those little animations. So they look really great on the Game Gear too. I mean, we'll get into it, but it looks great. Like the Game Gear itself, the levels, it's the gameplay that I have issues with. So beyond that, music, again, it's got great 8-bit tunes. Definitely not as catchy as the Genesis ones. And there are a couple that I had one queued up, but then I was like, man, I feel like that it's the boss music, and it's a bit piercy with some of the tones. So I just wanted to I switched and grabbed another one. I don't want to blow your eardrums out too much after that AOL modem. But we're going to get into the actual gameplay. I'm going to have to make sure I'm using my replacement curse words when I start talking about this. And other than that, I'm going to play another sweet 8-bit tune, and we'll start talking some gameplay. That's a good tune. Hopefully that didn't have too many kind of spiky, chimey pings type in there, but it's all classic 8-bit, and the Game Gear had a decent little speaker on it too. Same kind of deal though. It's like, are you gonna crank the sound and work and wear your batteries out? Sometimes that was part of my method. Dim that screen, turn your batteries down, especially when you got that batteries dying light coming on or something. So we're talking straight game chat for Sonic 2, the Hedgehog, trial and error, and you better learn this game or you're going to fall into spikes like 1,000 times. So, characters in this game, we've got Sonic. He's the only playable one, although it introduces Tails. You don't play him. He doesn't run around with you. He just gets kidnapped at the beginning. As far as your little cinematic at the beginning is literally just Robotnik comes and picks up Tails as he's running, and then the game starts. But you've got Tails in there, and then you've got Dr. Eggman or Dr. Robotnik. They kind of call them both. And until they kind of settled on it, I know it kind of evolved into Eggman being the kind of slang from Sonic, or kind of chirping him, making fun of Robotnik, calling him Eggman because he's a fat egg-shaped guy. So you got same kind of way that I think they bounce between like Bowser and King Koopa. So you got multiple names until they kind of figure out their flow and settle on things. And then I want to shout out, even though this is probably the only game as far as Silver Sonic, but I know it's the stepping stones for Metal Sonic, and I know he's a big part of the lore nowadays. So those are your characters. We got lots of baddies to beat up. We'll get into the bosses. We kind of talked about the story already. So literally in this game, they're called Robot Masters. Or is it Master Robots? Either way, it's very Mega Man-like, but I liked all the Sonic bosses. I like to play on like robotic animals, or the fact that Robotnik's trying to take the animals and transform them into robots, or whatever kind of nefarious plans he's up to. Just these games, the Sonic games in general, besides, or like the way they combine like nature elements and robotic elements between their levels, especially when you get into like later levels, like the casino levels and stuff in later games. None of that in here, but so story-wise, you got it. We're going to go rescue Tails. The Chaos Emeralds, if you're hunting for them, will just be in like a random level per world, kind of hiding. There's no like boss fight. There's no bonus levels in this game. So you have to find, you got to find those if you want them, and it's tough. Item-wise in the game, you got your little, what do they even call them? They look like little TVs to me. I guess they're called monitors, maybe. So you got some items. You've got your invincibility, your little star thing. There is no shield in here like you get in the other games. No bubble shield. You do have free guys. I think there's a super ring. Will give you 10 rings. And again, in this game, I know we're coming right off of Sonic 1, and they hadn't quite developed gameplay and things for that quite yet. Sonic 1 on the Master System, I believe when you got hit with your rings, it only released like one ring for you to pick up. But I know at least in this case, it's your basic Sonic. You gather your rings, you get hit, and you got a ring explosion going on. So you got those as far as your items. When you beat the level, it's still kind of your spinny sign thing at the end, if you remember that. You kind of pass a sign and it'll spin. And depending on what you get, in this case, you get a Robotnik picture, you get nothing. If you get a ring, you get 10 rings. If you get a Sonic picture, you get an extra life. And if you get a Tails picture, which I still have yet to see in any of my playthroughs, you get a continue, which you'll need if you're trying to actually beat this game. I may have used or may have found myself like a certain cheat.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
So there may be a certain cheat to get to like a level selection screen that I might have used to actually play some levels before I threw my controller through my wall. So the game itself has 2 different endings depending on how many Chaos Emeralds you get. So I love games that do that too, for better or worse. Sometimes the game ends and you're like, what the crap? Until you have to look up or hear from your friends on the playground what you were supposed to do to get to a certain part of a game. There was no Googling back then. Each level, when you start, I think it's like a 10-minute timer you get. Your basic kind of left to right as far as that goes. The screen just has your number of rings, a timer, and your how many lives you have on it as you're playing. And, as far as like Sonic as a platformer versus Mario, I think there's just differences in the way you play the game, essentially. And beyond this one, it's just a tough Game Gear game. I feel like the way they develop these levels it's almost like a tier system. Like you've got a top of the level and a bottom of the level, and then sometimes like a middle of the level. And it's like depending on how well you're playing, if you're playing well and going fast and hitting the right jumps, you end up top. Excuse me. And that makes the level like easier. And then you're finding all these items up there. And like the hard part about these games is when you do bad and fall to kind of like a lower part of a level, the level is harder down there. So it's like it punishes you for being punished essentially. But it's with this game, there's a lot of, you would have to memorize these levels because you're taking so many blind jumps on this little screen. And this game is very like spike intense. Like there's so many spikes along the bottom of these levels when it could probably just be a piece of land and they don't have to punish you for falling. You would just have to run back. Instead you die, you lose a life, have to restart things. So I think it's just different than Mario as far as when you're playing Sonic, like you want to go fast, but they would have to make super long levels and then you're just kind of spinning fast through the whole thing and that may get boring. So it still needs these platformer challenges. And yeah, Sonic doesn't do great when he's slowed down. But I think that's just part of the challenge. And I think it also adds to like the replay value because I'll still play, sometimes you'll play something like a Sonic 2 on the Genesis and you start hitting these parts of the levels where you've never kind of been to before. And it really just depends on if you make like a long enough jump to make it to a certain spot. It's like a whole nother level up there versus being like on a down low part. So I think there's definitely differences between playing Sonic and Mario and how you can play it. And I guess the things I'm allowed to get angry at in either one. So I just want to talk about that real quick. Also in this game, no checkpoints. I know that they have developed that at some point, your little checkpoint flag light post looking thing in these games. So no checkpoints here. That's fun. I already said no bonus stages. Other than that, we've got 6 available, I guess, worlds, we'd call them. 7 if you get all your Chaos Emeralds. And in this case, you have 3 acts per level. That's something Sonic's always done, calling their individual levels acts, I guess. Between acts, levels, worlds, these developers can kind of call it whatever they want as far as their breakdown of a theme, a group of levels with a certain theme to them. So we're going to break this down. There's a lot of new stuff. There's some new mechanics in this game that that I haven't seen like anywhere else. So they kind of, at least not in the Sonic franchise, there's some interesting mechanics here that maybe Nintendo, noticed and put in some of their games. So we'll talk in first world. Again, you boot up the game. I mean, you're right into it. One cool thing is the title cards for all the levels. It's just kind of, it's your static picture. There's no overworld of levels where you're traveling. You're just going level to level. But the title screen for the levels are really cool. They look really good. Although each one has Sonic and Tails kind of in whatever that kind of theme of the level is. But I'm not sure why that's there because you never have Tails during the whole game. So maybe you're just in these levels thinking about Tails, hoping he was with you. But anyway, so Sonic game, you think we're turning this thing on. We're going to get into some sweet classic Sonic Green Hill looking zones with your bright blue water in the back and your bright green grass. And you're not getting that in this game. First world in this game is called Underground Zone. And I mean, honestly, it looks fine, but it's weird that they went that route. You do get a Green Hill zone later. So your first zone, underground zone, again, 3 acts. And unless I'm mistaken, I think every Chaos Emerald is in the Act 2 of every world. I know that for at least the first 4, so it's probably all of them. So if you're looking for Chaos Emeralds, they're going to be in Act 2. And then Act 3 is just a boss fight. Some of them have a bit of a travel to get to the boss. We'll talk bosses in a minute. Back to World 1, Underground Zone. So it looks good. You're like mountain levels. You end up underground. And this is where you get your first new Sonic mechanic. And that's the minecart. And keep in mind that this game came out plenty of years before Donkey Kong Country. But these things play just like it. You're in like a rail cart. You have no control over the speed or direction. You can jump out, in and out, I guess, but you're mainly jumping out, kind of flying across the screen and hoping you land somewhere where you can do something that isn't dying. Even the manual says, use your gut instincts to tell you when to bail out. Yeah, thank you. Maybe give us some more lives or continues if that was the case, and less spikes. So you are. I mean, this game is guess and check like 1,000% because you can't see where you're going at all. You just have to guess. But yeah, the first 2 levels aren't too bad, the first 2 acts. The issue with this is Act 3 and the first boss. He's called the Pitmaster. Now, the problem with this game, the problem with Sonic in general, at least on this one, well, I don't know why they did this in the boss fights on this. So your boss fights are, every single boss fight, there's no rings. You start out with no rings. You have no rings in the level available. So I don't know why they decided to make every single boss fight in this game that you have to one-shot. And on top of that, every boss takes, you would think, okay, you're traditional. It's a small game. You're not getting any rings. So 3 hits to a boss and you're done. Well, freaking guess again, because it's like 8 hits. You don't even know all these bosses. They're different. Okay, your first boss. I'm getting back there. Pitmaster. It's almost like a Sarlacc pit kind of like boss. So picture your Sonic. You're in the top left of your screen because it's like a downhill thing. Sonic, top left of the screen. Boss, bottom right of the screen. Draw a 45-degree line straight from one to the other. And that bottom half that you're standing on is just completely unplayable field. So right off the bat, you've got a tiny screen, and now they're cutting that screen in half. And then on top of that, you've got the way to beat this boss. You can bounce on him and bounce off of him, but you're not hurting him, is that, again, you're on this hill, is that these rocks are going to start bouncing down, and those are what going to hit the boss. You have to avoid these rocks. And the screen is so small, you can't tell. They come different and randomly. Like, you'll see a rock, it'll hit and then bounce up, and because the screen's so small, you don't even see where the rock is at the top of its arc. It's in there and then it's gone, and you can't, if you try to jump, and again, you'll slip down slowly, kind of a little bit. If you just kind of stand still, he'll slip, and if you hit that little Sarlacc Pitmaster guy, when you're not in your spin ball, it will kill you. So you've got to perfectly make your way through that. It wasn't as random, at least when I was playing it. I don't know if it's random. I think it's like 6 rocks, but it's like it'll do high bounce, and then low bounce, and then I think high bounce, low bounce. So it's like you're better off on your first couple of rocks on the high bounce to try and have them bounce over you, whereas you're going to want to jump over the other little low bounces. So it's notoriously tough for a first level boss. I know I beat him when I was a kid, and it's even a little more tough on like a Game Gear versus if you're playing it on another system or on a TV. I know the game was released in a Wii collection, I think, for one of the Sonic games. It might even be on like a newer Sonic Origins as far as the Game Gear game. I have it. It was the weirdest thing. I must have dropped my little mini Super Nintendo Classic, because then when I turned it on, it had like bunch of other games on it. So that's really weird. But again, it's not like available anywhere. I'd pay a developer for it. I don't believe, if I've said it before, like in stealing games or emulating games, if it's available somewhere else from a developer. If you go buy it store or a yard sale, developers aren't getting that money. So it's not like you feel better because you bought it off eBay. Other than that, I believe that these games need to be preserved and played, so I'm fine with emulating them if that's what it takes. But I remember specifically on the Game Gear version, it's got a bit of like a blur when you're playing the Game Gear, just the old kind of CRT screen or whatever they got in there itself. So that was particularly hard to see. It was because it was almost like a blurry kind of boulder bouncing around. Pit Boss. All right, you managed to beat him, whatever they are, the 6 balls or whatever. All these bosses, there are no rings. They all take too many hits. They're hard to get to. At least in this Act 3, I don't recall it being a pain. I know at one point it's weird. You kind of rail cart your way. Again, there's not like other enemies. It's a small level to make it to the boss, the Act 3s. In this one, it's weird. You like fly out of a rail cart and about fly into some lava, but then Robotnik comes and saves you for some reason and then drops you off at the boss, which is maybe like if that was the case, if he was like, no, you don't get to fall in lava, you have to fight me. I'm the one who's going to kill you, but then you drop him off at your other little boss guy to fight anyway. But whatever, let's beat the pit boss and move on. So the next level is another, like, it's weird. I feel like they have the levels out of order. They really should have started with the Green Hill Zone because it's really classic and nice, except Act 3 in that one. So your next world, Sky High Zone, another new mechanic. Sonic's riding a hang glider. And that was tough as a kid, but not so much now. It kind of plays like Mario's cape from Mario World. When you're puffed up, you got to kind of keep hitting back to kind of go forward, or at least kind of tapping backwards to kind of let the wind push you forward. So fun new mechanic there. I liked the hang gliders. I like how Sonic looks in the hang glider. So I think that's cool. And the level itself looks cool, all treetoppy and clouds and stuff. The first one ain't so bad. If you're good with your hang glider, you're just at the top of the level, and then you hit the end of the level and fall, and like the sign's there. So it's almost kind of a cheap way to make it through the level, but it's there, so use it. It's Act 2 that gets real tough, although it looks beautiful. Now it's like raining and stuff, and there's a bunch of hang gliders everywhere. But there's also like a wind feature, like a breeze, and you'll see it because it kind of pushes leaves with it. So you'll know you'll kind of be gliding across, and then the wind will hit it, and you'll kind of go up a little bit. The tough, stupid thing in this level is the Chaos Emerald. It's like at the top of the level, and if you don't get it, you have to be real good with the hang glider. You can get it with the hang glider, but if you don't, you have to jump on clouds, and all the clouds in the background look the same, except you can just randomly jump in certain spots, and some of them have kind of hidden springs that pop you up. But it's like unless you know, and then on top of that, you got to hit that Chaos Emerald perfect too. And that's all just to make it to Act 3, which is probably the worst freaking level in this entire game. Act 3, Sky High Zone. You're going to make your way to this like goose boss. And again, he's okay, but it's like I watch videos of the Master System and you have just so much more room to move, except when you're on the little Game Gear screen. And this one's tough too because these little goose egg things that pop around, you have to then bop on the mama goose's head, but if you bop on it, it'll shoot you right into a projectile that's shooting out of its mouth. And again, the hard part being there's just no checkpoints. You know, if you game over here, you have to go through the entire slog of getting back to this level, recollecting Chaos Emeralds. It's tough, and I don't appreciate how hard they made it, but they didn't know. They were still developing games, figuring out difficulty levels and spikes and stuff. But moving into World 3, before we get to a nice, sweet, classic Green Hill Zone, why don't we throw in a freaking water level? Because who likes nothing better than a fast hedgehog just slowing down like he's freaking walking in goo? So you've got these water levels. They look great. They sound great. The first level is such a weird... You can spin and kind of go fast, and if you're spinning and you hit water, you'll skip across it. You'll just kind of bounce, 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 bounce. So the first level, you can just skip the first two kind of open water areas. You can make it to that sign in like 10 seconds at the end of the level. But should you fall in the water, it becomes like a 40-minute level where you're getting your air bubbles. There's spikes. When you're underwater in this game more than the others, I feel like he is moving so slow. so it's harder to get to the water. There is a mechanic in these water levels beyond the air bubbles. Yeah, that whole, you're going to run out of air. Timer starts going off. You need to find an air bubble to breathe. They also have air bubbles you can jump in, and then it kind of floats you to the top as you push left or right and avoid spikes and all those things. The second water level is also especially tough. And again, you just move insanely slow. But as far as the, you make it to 3, you make it to the boss there, and he's a sea lion, a robot sea lion. And the screen, again, it's so small. This one's not too tough. He kind of blows up like a ball, and you have to bounce on the ball at the right time on his little nose to explode. And otherwise, he'll grab you and toss you around like a ball, which I guess is kind of adorable. So you got, and all these bosses have names like Pit Master, but then it's like Hyoki Master, Balance Master, Dohyo Master. So I'm just going to call that one Sea Lion Monster Guy. But the real cream of the crop, World 4, Green Hill Zone. It's not Green Hill Zone like the regular games. This is Green Hills Zone. It's plural for some reason. But it is your classic Sonic, and the first 2 acts are great. You're doing loop-de-loops. You know these. You can zoom through past all those palm trees. Everything's so familiar. You're banging through blocks. It's all normal baddies. Really should have been the first world of the game. But then we get to Act 3 on this one, the boss. The boss itself is pretty easy. Pig bear guy, probably the easiest in the game. He just rolls into a ball, avoid him when he's a ball, hit him when he's not. But to get to that boss, you've got to span like 3 miles of spikes and springs, and it's so annoying. It is literal. I'm like not trying to make this sound any worse than it is. It is like literal. You can't, there's no way to see where you're going because it's spring. It's a little tiny piece of land with a spring and a whole bunch of spikes, and you have to hit that and just fly across the screen and hope you land on the right piece of freaking grass or the right spring. And you do that like 6-7 times, and all that to even just make it to the boss to start. And again, you're now in World 4, Act 3. You game over here. You're going all the way back. You're doing all this again. And I didn't even mention like the Chaos Emerald in Act 2. I don't even know where that one is. It's weird because you can go to YouTube and watch like even a long play of this, and it's under an hour of people just like beating this game. And I don't know how long. I mean, I could see, hey, if this was the only game I had, I'd be an expert at it too eventually, but you can't make it. You make all these levels that no one's ever going to see, especially like kids, because of the difficulty in the game. I guess they just thought they could just squish it down into Game Gear and it'd be okay. And I'm sure it sold great, but it just kind of makes me sad. As a kid, I'm sure I didn't get past World. I know I got to Hang Gliders, so I know I was in Sky High Zone. I remember the Goose Boss, so I'm assuming I made it to World 3, but I don't think I could ever make it past those spike things to then go to have enough lives to even make it through that to keep the game going. But again, that boss is easy. And if you want to, if you're a completionist, a Sonic completionist, I recommend finding this game, playing it. Again, you could enter in that super secret code.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
It's actually, I'll talk about it at the end, but it's a cool code, if you remember putting codes in back in the day. Did you know that all the animal names in this game have freaking names? I didn't. You want to hear them? It's Flicky, Pocky, Pecky, Cucky, Ricky, and Rocky. So keep that in your noggin. I'm assuming Cucky might be a chicken, but probably wouldn't name him Cucky nowadays. And who's Ricky? I didn't look up any pictures of these guys, but I like that they went here. I'll do it right now. I like that they went and got named him Flicky. He's a little penguin guy. Pocky's a little rabbit. Pecky is what? He's like an alligator. Is he a bad guy? Cucky, same thing. Crocodile. Oh, Ricky's a squirrel, I think, and Rocky is a seal. Okay. So free all those guys. But anyway, let's get back to we got 3 more worlds to go over here in this freaking game. Gimmick Mountain Zone is actually okay as far as putting some new stuff at you. It's real maze-like, but it's got so your factory kind of level. It's got treadmills and gears, and then it's got these things called flywheels, which are like spinning wheels that you stick on, and then you press like the D button up and down maybe, or left and right, but you spin it up. So it's like you're stuck and rotating, then you spin it and then hit the button and it flings you off. So you can kind of picture that to kind of get up to an higher edge or something. So just kind of an interesting mechanic anyway. And then it's got some more mine carts in there. But again, that's like your kind of mechanical looking level. The boss there is, I guess, Charge Master. He's a boar, and he's not tough himself, except these tiny little rocks that fall from the ceiling. And when you've got, what feels, I'm not sure, like a 2-inch screen, there's just nowhere to move to avoid these things. Because if you jump, you're hitting the ceiling, but they could be coming just right above you, and you'd never see them. It really is just like if you looked at a Master System versus this, they just took out level all around it. It's like the same game for the Master System in this, and it's just missing screens, so it's just like a tougher game. Versus, I don't know what their other option was, shrinking down the sprites to some degree or shrinking the game down, but they chose the other route. Scrambled Egg Zone, I have mixed emotions about. It's because it's so beautiful. It's such a sweet looking level. But it's terrible to play. So this is like Robotnik's underground base, but it's all pipes and tubes. And the issue is, so it's like the auto kind of pipes where you go in and it's just like you hear the sound effect and you're whipping across the screen like underground through all these pipes going up, down, left, right. In this case, you're on a tiny Game Gear screen and can't see anything. And the other part is on these pipe warp tunnel things, it has various exits or different paths to go that you would have to push on the D-pad. So it's like if you're shooting down real quick, there might be like a to the right where you can go, but if you're not holding right, you're just going to keep going straight down. So you have to learn all of those, and there's a pretty tough one where if you don't hit it just right, I think it's Act 2, you land on this platform and then you land on spikes and die, and then you have to go over and over again. And then Act 3 is kind of the same thing where it's the boss fight, but you have to go into this pipe and wait what feels like 20 minutes while you zoom through the pipe just to make... And then if you don't make the one landing right, you'll end up in spikes and die. And then you have to go and you have to sit. And the thing is, the pipe's doing nothing. You're just sitting there. So you're just sitting in a pipe for 5 minutes at the beginning of every level just to try and make the next jump. So that's probably like the worst level in the game. But the boss is the best. The boss is Silver Sonic, and it's actually a sweet boss fight, and it's not even bad on the Game Gear. He does a couple of things. He has like a Inspector Gadget, like retractable claw arm thing he shoots out at you that you have to avoid. And then he has like rocket boots, where he kind of hovers for a second and then kind of shoots across the screen on his rocket boots. So you can hit him then. You can hit him on the top of his head when he's doing his claw thing, and then he'll also go into like a spin jump, same way you do, and turn into a ball and jump at you. You can't hurt him if he does that, but it's cool because you can hit him, and then you start to get this kind of the way you would in the casino levels. You like bounce off, so it's a cool fight because it feels cool because it's the same kind of like a Link versus Shadow Link kind of thing, like this character versus another style character. And it feels aggressive because when you guys are both balls just kind of beating at each other, it's kind of how a Sonic and a Mecha Sonic fight like would look. And so it's actually a really cool fight. And so there's the game, right? If you didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds, the game ends right there. The credits start, you run along flat ground as it starts to get nighttime, and then the credits are rolling, and then by the time you get to the end, it's just Sonic by himself, and he stops and he looks up in the stars, and there's like a little picture of Tails up there, and kind of picture like the Homer Simpson sitting on his car looking into the sky meme with like his mom up there, whatever that meme is. So it's like, did Tails die? Because that's kind of dark. It's like he's looking up there like Tails is in heaven. Like, you need to go get them Chaos Emeralds, Sonic. So if you do get all the Chaos Emeralds, all 6 of them, you go to the last zone. It's called Crystal Egg Zone, and this one's actually really sweet looking too. and not easy, but nice to play. It's a nice Sonic level, so it looks great. The music's great. And again, when Sonic can do his thing, and I'm not just talking about speeding across the level and finishing it, but the ups and downs, the right jumps. In this case, you're speeding just fast enough to avoid falling blocks, so you still feel like you're just an adventurer running around. So those are two good levels leading up to a terrible boss fight. Even on the Master System, it looks terrible. But your last fight, you're finally fighting Robotnik himself. It's in like a lightning arena looking thing. It's like you can't. So it has kind of a tube that picture like a square room, and then a tube around it circumferencing the whole thing. And you've got an entrance on the bottom and an entrance up top. So anytime you can go in this tube and you're safe essentially. You're going to spin around the level as he's electrocuting stuff, and he's not going to hurt you. You're not going to hurt him. But based on what I've seen on boss fight plays of this, because I'm terrible at it, that's a lot of it. Staying in this tube, waiting for the exact right spot. Because Robotnik's shooting out these electric things, and he also has a move that electrifies the entire board. Not if you're in the tube. So you'll die that way as well. Again, you're in this fight, no rings. You got to one-shot the entire thing. So it's really, really tough. You have to shoot out of the tube, avoid all this electricity, get like one hit in him, and then jump back in the tube and literally spin around waiting 5 minutes for his little ads, his like little electric ads to die off, for him to do his full electrocution, jump in, get a hit in, and go hide in your tubes again. But eventually you do that. You beat Robotnik, you chase him out of the way. Of course, at the end of all these levels, you're freeing animals and stuff as you do. But in this case, you find Tails, you let him go, and then both of you run along as the credits roll, just like they kind of did before, and it goes to nighttime. And then this time at the end, both you and Tails stare up at the sky, and now Sonic and Tails are both in the sky. And it's like, what does that even mean? Are you guys alive still? Just so weird. You're both just remembering yourselves and your adventure. I guess that's all right. So, that's it as far as making it through this game. I don't think I cussed for real. Maybe I'll have to beep something out. I don't know what the flip is going on with this fudging game. But it's something. Again, if you're a purist, go play it, because it's, just like I want to see every Mario level. And the reason I wanted to go back through and play this, and the reason why I put in a cheat code to check the levels, because I just wanted to see the levels. Come on, Sega. I thought you did what Nintendo don't. Why is this game so tough? But again, you got the two endings. We got some comments. In this case, I tried to find some good ones. But anyway, we got comments. We got awards. Let's get into it.
Aren't you a little old for video games?
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Let's do all the things that you want to do. Throw me a frickin' phone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
I've lived in mortal terror that this would happen.
Get on with the ceremony.
All right. I'm going to give this game some awards anyway. It's hard when a game, it's a legacy like Sonic, looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, but if it doesn't play right, isn't that what we're playing games for to begin with? Anyway, we're going to get into some comments here. We got Carrie saying Sonic 2 is the worst game of the four. I believe he's talking the Game Gear ones. But that's because of bad screen crunch on the Game Gear. The underlying game is great, which is proven by the Master System version, and the Game Gear version is not horrible if you remember the blind jumps and get past the first boss. So those two right there, the blind jumps, not horrible if you remember the blind jumps. What if you remember the 330 blind jumps you have to make in this game? And again, he mentions the first boss as well. It's just too tough and too screen crunched. And if that was the case and you didn't want to fix the screen or change any of that, then lessen the hits. Make it be a little 3 balls. So go to your normal 3 hits on these guys. It's just a tiny Game Gear game. Anyway, next comment from Circle Anta Says, honestly, it's not very good. The extreme and very cheap difficulty seriously puts a damper on the experience, with levels like Green Hills and Scrambled Egg being basically trial and error guessing games on where to land. The stages are nowhere near as memorable, and they're often just flat straight lines or cryptic annoying mazes. The bosses are all a pain in the ass. The last one is one of the worst boss fights in the franchise. He's talking about you, Robotnik. And the hang gliding can go F itself. I disagree. The hang gliding's tough if you don't know it. The game is also unplayable on Game Gear because of the screen crunch, which makes the already needlessly hard levels mentioned above borderline impossible because you genuinely can't see where you're going. There is some fun you can have here, and it's not overly terrible, but it's also not great either. That's definitely all true as well. And again, the hang gliding, I remember even being as a kid being like, this is impossible, but it's a weird, I feel like training myself on Mario's cape back in the day was the same kind of thing, as far as when you get like the poofed part and then you're doing the, up and down. But again, if you're game overing there, and then to get to the rest of the game to begin with, you've got to fight that first boss over and over and over again. Next comment from Dr. Kosak. So we've got a doctor here. Sonic 2 8-bit is the best one. It is incredibly memorization heavy, but also very consistent, and mechanically, it is the most functional due to more polished controls from Sonic 1 without any additional moves. It is also very aesthetically pleasant, and collecting emeralds and stages is appreciated. So he found some stuff to like there. Collecting the emeralds, just finding them in a stage versus, I think, kind of the bonus levels that they move to in the other games. I like that as well, just working to find something hidden. It'd be nice, I guess, if they gave you any sort of hints to let you know where the emeralds were, maybe, or something. But I guess if this is your only game and you're just playing it, my issue is the replayability. Either infinite lives, more continues, less boss hits, but you're not going to keep playing this game if you're going to keep going and dying at that first boss over and over. Or at least give us a pretty level. Like I said, Green Hills to start, to where you're always making it to World 2, and everyone's fine making it through Green Hill on any of these games, because it's just that's when it's fun to be Sonic, in these Green Hill zones, and you're doing your loop-de-loops and all that. So last comment here from Alligamer. Says, Sonic 2 has unfair object placement, but I like that it has loops and you don't lose all your rings when getting hit. So just a simple comment there, kind of trying to, show some love to the small improvements that were made over Sonic 1, as far as the ring splash you get. They start to do the loops. Again, we're not quite to the charge up spin dash yet or anything, but I also agree with the unfair object placement. And the other thing in this game is that the bad guys respawn. So it's like, and on a small enough screen, you got guys respawning after you just fell on spikes, barely made it alive, recollecting the one coin over and over again as you're trying to run across these spikes. Ugh, what a nightmare. So I'm still going to give this game some awards. They deserve it. Gall darn it. So my first award is the It's Morphin' Time Award. And that's going to go to my favorite new gameplay mechanic, because we're changing things up here. And it's a tie between the hang glider and the minecart. I like the hang glider. I like how it looks. I like how it plays once you know how you're playing it. Playing like that Mario cape. And it's just in the the 2 levels there, as far as the Sky High zone itself. So with Sonic having zones, not worlds. So they have zones and acts. I swear I'll get this all down eventually. And tied with the hang glider and the minecart, both of those. Again, I love the minecart, and it really does play like Donkey Kong. Was there any games before Donkey Kong, before Sonic 2, that had the minecart at all? And they called it a rail cart in this game, but I like that concept. I still think it's funny when Sonic's in vehicles of any kind, when he's supposed to be like the super fast guy, when he's driving like a go-kart. But that's fine. I'll take that. Next award is going to be the Challenger Approaching Award. And that's going to be for the sweetest boss fight. And it's going to go to Robotnik. No, not at all. You heard me gushing a little bit about him earlier. It's going to go to Silver Sonic. decent music, sweet looking board, sweet looking sprite, moves that match what he's supposed to do, enough room on the screen to have the fight be fair, as it were, enough detail to see kind of what the Silver Sonic's doing. Again, it wasn't a 3-hit and you're done. I don't remember the hits, but I swear it's 6 plus with like all these bosses. And other than that, it's a good fight. I like the bouncing against them. And again, I like that fighting your evil self, that old Link versus Shadow Link, Dark Link, whatever those kind of fights were. And our last award is going to be the Dreamland Award. We're going to show some love to some pretty things in games. We're going to talk about the prettiest looking level. That's going to be Scrambled Egg Zone. I can't, on a audio podcast, kind of show you pictures of this, but if you did see it, it's just really cool, like cartoony. It's got good deep blues. Like your character's already blue, but they put the solid black background. There's something about those in these old games. Like the first time you go to like Underground Zone in Mario and the background turns black. Or in this case, it's like black with, or like, all the, like the World 8 from the original Marios and stuff where it's like black, but you've still got clouds and stars and things in the background. So you got a black background. You got like poppin' blue boulders and like nice green grass, and the tubes look really good. It's just too bad that the levels play like crap. The Act 2 one where you got to land on this platform and this all these spikes underneath, and again, game over there, and you're going to fight freaking Pitmaster again. But anyway, we gave this game some awards. I'm going to give it some ratings, same as last week. We'll just kind of keep the rating system going, and I'm going to start with my most important one, and it's gameplay. If you saw my notes here, it's like out of 10, and it just kept getting scratched down and lower and lower and lower. And I'm going to end on a 5 out of 10. The screen's too small, but there are some levels that I enjoyed in this game. So again, I encourage you to look up any sort of, passwords.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
You can for this game. I'm giving it, again, a 5 out of 10 because he still plays like Sonic. Everything's Sonic-y about him. I'm not deducting points for having no charge or anything like that, no charge dash. It's just the screen that limits you. When you bounce, when you're Sonic and you jump and you're hitting the top of your screen, you're going to have issues in this game where you want me to jump on a spring across a chasm of spikes. Jerks. Next, we're going to go visuals. This baby's going to get a nice 8.5 out of 10. Oh, it looks great. Again, I encourage you to look up some screenshots if you're not going to play this game. And it looks good in the screenshots, depending on even if you're looking at that. I feel like the Game Gear looks better than the Master System. So it looks better when it's kind of crunched down like that, but also harder to play. But I'm still, if we're going just on visuals, it's there. It's all the levels look great. Next up, music and sound, same thing. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 on this. It's got great 8-bit sound. There's no kind of repetitive, the only repetitive part about it is that you'll have to play the same freaking levels over and over till you can actually make some progress in the game. So there are some sounds or music that probably gets annoying. And I also just really miss the iconic kind of spin charge sound. As much as I miss the move itself, he's on the ground, he's charging up, and it's just that, depending on how fast you tap the button, I can hear it in my brain. I'm sure you guys are hearing it too. So no spin charge sound yet, but I'm still giving it an 8 out of 10. Now we're talking the awesomeness factor. And you just heard me complain a lot about this game, awesomeness-wise. It's getting a 9 out of 10. And don't turn off the podcast. It's just the fact that legacy-wise, that you have Sonic 2 on the go. I don't throw a lot of hate at Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. I was just happy to have that on the go, as weird as that game is. So, you had it, and you were impressing people if you had your Game Gear and your bright color screen and killing your batteries. Hopefully you got that AC adapter charger. And get your little... Game Gear had just as many accessories as the Game Boy did, and all sorts of screen magnifying glasses and stuff. But so, I mean, total wise, she's getting a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I mean, like, does this game rule? No. I wouldn't say, I mean, I would probably say it sucks. But I mean, it's just, I guess I wouldn't tell my kids to go play this like I will other games. Not that they even listen to me. But again, if you're kind of a Sega purist, or you want to kind of see, back in the history of some of the Sonic stuff, give it a go. Look up the password. But the password itself is really cool because it's one of those old school passwords. In this case, you have to, if I don't remember, look it up if you're going to do it. But it's like on boot up, you have to hold down and left on the D-pad, and you have to hold 1 and 2. So you hold those 4 buttons. It'll boot up. And then when it gets to the cinematic, quote unquote, Tails running and Robotnik getting them. So it gets to that point, you push start, and then it goes to your logo with Sonic and Tails. Sonic giving his peace sign. And you have to wait. Tails is going to blink once, and then he's going to blink twice. And so right after he blinks twice, you have to let go of all the other buttons, push start again, and that will take you to the level select menu. If you do it right, when Tails does his little 2 blinks, there'll be 2 little chimes, and you hit start right after that. So if that sounds complicated, it probably is, but it sounds awesome if you know what I'm talking about. Like, this isn't just your Game Genie, and this isn't just your Contra code. I like the code that you have to watch. You have to judge when the screen does a certain something. You have to do a certain something. It just sounds and feels a lot more like you're hacking. You're earning that level select. And that's all the code is. You can just go through every single level. You don't get any sort of extra anything, but it helps if you're going to try like a boss fight, or otherwise you guys wouldn't get this episode till next October if you wanted me to sit here and beat this game. So again, it's an all right game. Give it a chance. But we're gonna wrap it up and get out of here, and I'm gonna have to put my Game Boy, or put my Game Gear away for a little bit till we end up breaking out some other random games on that one. Next week, I need a palate cleanser. So next week we're gonna get fun. We're gonna go back to some joystick action. I'm hoping that the palm of your hands are healed up from many years of abuse, because next week we're talking Mario Party 1, Nintendo 64. Lots of memories of that game, in the best kind of way. Those games suck for one player, I assume. I think we only played one player back then if we were trying to get the other boards or any sort of unlockables. But definitely multiplayer, man. All my friends, you'll all get shout outs next week. I don't talk to any of you anymore. You'll probably never hear this, but I'm going to shout out all you guys next week. I can remember who plays what. I can remember what games, were cheap, what games were fun. I was hitting teenage years by then, so I was, indulging in other things as well while playing Mario Party. It makes a party even more partier. Other than that, let's get out of here. Thanks, you guys, for listening. Again, this one's been I got angry. I had to stop a few times. But I like games that I like any games that give you emotions. It shows your head's in the game. Anyways, again, thank you all. Anybody want to do that whole leaving ratings things? I'd appreciate just some comments. Go ahead and comment on any of the things you're listening on this. I'll be able to find them there. Or, again, send me them emails, thatgamerules@gmail.com. And then I'm pretty active on my That Game Rules Facebook. I'm not sure how to find me there. You probably just have to search That Game Rules. But I like making memes. I like joining all those conversations. Don't even know if I'm talking to humans half the time, but I like talking about games. And other than that, we're talking N64 next week, and I'll see you then. Thanks, guys. We're out of here.